Now we'll learn how to use the calendar and how to add events. The process for creating new events is a little different than what we did when we added a facilities and program page or when we created a promo. When we add a new event, we'll do it in a series of steps. Now, the Quick Links panel offers us a quick way to be able to add a new event, so we'll click the word Add Event, and that opens the panel to be able to create a new one. Now, you'll notice here that we have a series of tabs. When we add our information into the fields in this series of tabs, it will combine together to create a website page. Because events have a lot of functionality and a lot of things going on under the hood. So let's take a look at some of the tricks that events can perform. Let's skip over here to this live calendar view for a website that is currently appearing live. And you'll notice that when we hover over any of these items, that they are actually active links. Well, we know that events already have the ability to appear and disappear on and off your website pages automatically. But when we hover our mouse or touch it on a mobile screen with our finger, then what happens is some of the magic is that a thumbnail will appear with the who, what, where, just the basics of the event. And here's the teaser message for this family fun night: kid-friendly buffet, cartoons and board games, just something inviting. And if somebody's looking for something to do, this sounds inviting, they want to learn more about it, then they can click the More button. So you can see that there's a lot of functionality in events, a lot of things that they can do. And here's the website page that was created through the series of tabs that we saw before. All right, let's go back and let's talk about colors. So what are all these colors for? Well, it's a good question. When we create a new event, we'll be assigning it to categories, and our public-facing calendar is color-coded, so it's easier for people to find what they want, of course. So the ACS color is gold. The color for the libraries is blue. For the recreation centers, it's red. Outdoor recreation, of course, is green, and so on. Another function of the calendar is that the color coding comes in really handy for people once they get used to using the calendar and the website, is that if you click categories, this downward button here, you'll notice that all of our color codes appear. And if I was only interested in the items for outdoor recreation, say I didn't really particularly care what was going on with the libraries or social and dining, any of these other things, say I just wanted to know about what's happening in outdoor recreation this month, I can click that link that appeals to me and watch what happens. The website will filter only those items that are of interest to me. So you can see that that's pretty handy. Now let's go back to that downward button. I want to click all categories and get back all of the items for that month. And now let's take a look at the list view. If we click the list view, this is especially handy for people who are on a mobile phone screen. Then you can also look at a list of all the items too, with the image a little bit bigger, and you can just click and get to the page that way. So we're in the month grid view right now. That takes us back to the month view. And those are a little bit of the tricks that an event can perform. All right, back to the welcome screen. And now we want to learn about how to use the calendar. So to get to the calendar, to the working panel of the calendar in edit mode, there are two ways to do it. We can view the calendar from the Quick Links panel by clicking this link here, or remember we were talking about that with the dashboard. You could also get to the same place by clicking Calendar and Events. So let's click View Calendar and let's start working in a calendar. View Calendar takes us to the place where we can manage events and add new ones. Here you'll see that we have some items that are solid color, some have symbols in them. So first of all, before we get started with creating a new event, let's just take a look at this panel and what some of these colors and symbols and these grayed out colors mean. If we have an item that is a solid color, like wildlife habits and habitats, this one here on the 4th, that item is appearing live on the website with no issues. If there's an item here, like this Boss Financial Management on the 18th, and let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see that one because it's awfully light color, right? So what we're seeing here is that this is a grayed out shade of green, and there's a symbol here. I don't know if you can see it very well if your screen is very small, but there is a symbol here which is an exclamation point. What that means is that this event needs some attention. There's something about it that is causing it not to appear in live state. Now, it could be that an author created a brand new event. And if you remember, authors cannot post information to live state. It takes an approver to do that. So if an author created a new event, then it would appear on the calendar in this grayed out color. And there would also be this little symbol, which is the exclamation point in the circle. So what's that telling you, approvers, is that you need to go in and just take a look at this item, and you can click on, and you could either visit the page or you could look at the details of the page. But you can look at that item, you could edit it if you needed to, but you, approvers, can publish that to live state. And once you do, then it'll appear in solid color with no little symbols by it, just like the wildlife habits and habitats right above it. So there's another item here that is appearing with the same symbol though, and it's solid color. So what's that about? Here on the 8th, this paint and party, it's showing up as a solid color, and yet it has the exclamation point by it. Well, this was an event that I had published and it was in live state, but I took it out of live state and reverted it back to pending or draft state. And so what that symbol is telling me is that this item needs some attention. If I want to send it back to live state, I need to click in there and do a little bit of work to make that happen. So this panel also gives you some options which are pretty interesting. For instance, if we hover over any of these items and we click, like Yoga with Carrie, you'll notice that we're getting a drop down. Make that bigger for you to see. You'll get a drop down with some things that you can do. We could visit the page to take a look at it. We could look at the details of the page. And remember the Boss Financial Management class? Well, let's click on that item. And if we wanted to check, if you're an approver and you wanted to check the details of the page, or instead of having to look at the page by visiting it, here's an option for you. The details will give you a quick list where you can just take a look at the item. You can see that there's a notice here. It's telling us that this is an event version that is not yet approved. So you can take a look at all of the content in a kind of a list fashion, and it's a quicker way of being able to proofread your content and review it before it goes to live state. And you can also check the image that somebody has added here too. So really like that function. I think it's going to save you a lot of time. Let's go back to this item, Yoga with Carrie. Let's click on there and explore some of these other items. Of course, you can edit the event. Going directly into the Add Event panel that we saw before would turn into an Edit Event panel. Basically the same thing with the tabs. You can duplicate the event, and we're going to do that in a little while. I'll show you how handy that feature can be. The versions is very interesting also. With versions, you can check, for instance, if this item had gone through a bunch of different versions or updates, then you could click on the versions and you'd be able to see all of the different versions. Now currently this one is appearing with the bullet blacked in, but if I wanted to revert this item back to a previous version, I could just by clicking the item. And you can see I get a message here. I don't really want to do that. I want to go back to the 4 to the most recent version, and I'm going to reload this item. But before I do that, you can also see that I can get rid of some of these versions if I want to, because some of these things, if you've got an older item, like an archived item that has been brought back time and time again, you might have many, many versions here. So you can get rid of as many of those old ones as you want. All right, so I've made a change here. I'm going to go ahead and reload the page. All right, very good. So Yoga with Carrie is now appearing with no issues. Finally on that list, notice that we have delete occurrence and delete event. Be very careful with delete event, because if I click delete event, it would delete everything, all of the Yoga with Carrie, and that's a repeating event. Now, delete occurrence is really interesting, because if the fitness center manager came to me on like the 21st and he said, hey, on the 21st, Yoga with Carrie has been canceled, or we have some sort of a change. What you can do is go into your calendar and just click on the item, and then you can delete that occurrence, or you could edit that occurrence, edit that particular item too. So if we deleted that occurrence, it would delete it only out of the 21st, and all the other ones would continue to appear. Now, if we click edit, say that we wanted to change the name of Carrie or whatever, make some sort of a change to that, or add a guest instructor to the details panel. We could do anything that we wanted to an existing event. And if it's a recurring event, notice here on the summary, we get something that you won't see if you're creating a brand new event. We'll see that we can edit just this one occurrence on this one date, or you can edit all occurrences. So that's something interesting that you can experiment with. And if you just happen to miss hitting the just this occurrence and forget to hit the right button, no worries. You can always easily go back and fix what it was that you didn't do right in the first place. All right, out of that. And one last thing that I want to show you is, remember, we have delete occurrence from this because it is a recurring event, right? But here we only have one occurrence of pottery class. So you'll notice the list does not contain that delete occurrence option on that one occurring event. All right. Okay, so those are some of the options of some of the things that you can do on that events panel, and we're looking at it in the calendar grid view. You can see up here that the calendar grid is sort of grayed in. Now let's take a look at another way of looking at the calendar, which I think you'll find interesting too and very useful, the calendar list view. Let's click the calendar list view. It's the one with the lines and the dots, which is right next to the Add Event tab. And you'll notice what we are able to do is see the same calendar, all of those events. There's Yoga with Carrie, the Wildlife Habits and Habitats. You can see that those items are now appearing in a list view. Well, what's the value of that really? Well, here's the value. If you are an older website and you have a lot of events in your past, some that are no longer current, and you want to resurrect some of those old ones, you can search for them in the search bar. And in the case of Yoga with Carrie, you remember it was a recurring event. It happened every week. So let's take a look and search Yoga with Carrie. All I'll have to do is just put one simple word in the search, Y-O-G-A. It's pretty smart, so one word will do it. And I hit the enter button, or you could have hit the search button, and you'll notice that all of our occurrences with Yoga with Carrie will appear here too. And when I click on any of those items, and you can see I've got a lot of Yoga with Carries because this is an event that doesn't have a stop. It goes on out through 2022, I believe, and beyond. As long as there's going to be a website, an enterprise website, this Yoga with Carrie will continue to appear until I tell it to stop. So if I click on any of these items here, you'll notice that we get that same drop down. So I could delete this occurrence of this one particular date on August 31st. I could edit this item, do all kinds of things here. So I just wanted to point out that that calendar list view is really powerful, and I'm sure that since it has that search function, you'll get a lot of use out of that. Let's go back to the calendar list, the calendar grid view. And you'll notice up at the top that you also have the ability to toggle past to and from different months also. We're in December. If I hit the button for forward, then that takes us to January and back to December and so on. All right, that's basically the functionality and most of what you need to know, with the exception of one item, and we're going to come back to duplicating an event in a moment. But first, what we want to do now is to go ahead and create a new event. So let's click Add Event. And this will look familiar to you. So you remember this panel, I'm sure. This is what we saw before, where we're going to be creating a new event, and we're going to be keying in information into all the fields that will combine to create a new event page. All right, you know me and my cheat sheets. I've got one over here. So this is going to be a Boss Car Wash fundraiser. That's our event for today. Boss Car Wash fundraiser. I'll copy and paste. Oh, we do need a teaser message, so we'll say, get a clean car. I'm sure you can think of something far better than that, but that's what I've got to work with right now. All right, get a clean car. Now let's add some dates. Now the dates for this item. This, if in the from, when we hover over the from, it's going to show the current day of the month for when you're creating this event. And say that I wanted to start this event on the 30th of December. Actually, let's go ahead and go into January, shall we? All right, so let's start this on the 6th of January because what I want to do is make a recurring event and I want to show how these things all look on 1 month. So let's say that this is a garrison in Miami where it's warm all winter long, and it would make sense for somebody to have a car wash, certainly not up in Wisconsin or any of the snowy months. But let's just go ahead and say that we're going to have a car wash and it's going to be every Saturday that the boss guys and girls are going to be out there doing their thing, cleaning cars and making some fundraising money. So we'll say that this event is going to start on the 6th, that Saturday, and you can see that the date has changed. Let's go ahead and add some times. Now, right now, it's just showing a one-day event. So if this was a one-day event, then that from and to being the same day would be perfectly fine. But we're going to make this a recurring event in just a moment. But first, we have to add some times. All right, they're not going to be there at 3 a.m. I don't think so. They are tough, but let's see. Let's make it let's say that they're going to be out there at 8 a.m. That might be a little bit too early, but you know. All right, and they'll be there from 8 a.m. on that Saturday until, let's say, 2:30 p.m. And you can see that we've got 5-minute increments on these times, so that's why there's such a long list. All right, so we've selected our starting date and our times. Now let's make this into a repeating or a recurring event. To do that, we'll click the button, Repeat Event. And that gives us a list of options that we can choose. So let's click Options, because now it wants to know, do you want this to repeat every day, every week, or every month? Well, we want this to be every week. So we'll click Every Week. Now, it knows that this is going to be a Saturday event, and you can change this for whatever reason if you needed to. And we also want this to repeat every week. You can also tell the site to this event to repeat every other week by clicking the 2, every 3rd week, every 4th week, every 5th week, and so on. You also have the option to be able to select certain days of the month. For instance, every 2nd Tuesday, every 3rd Thursday. So what I'd encourage you to do is experiment with events. You can create an event and just save it in a draft state and just see how it appears on your website in the back end state without publishing something. So experiment with this, and I'm sure that you'll learn more about this on your own. And the events can get a little bit complicated depending on what you want to do, the dates, the repetitions, and that sort of thing. So if you need more details about how to create an event and add information, we do have a very extensive user guide in the help section at the welcome screen for adding events. All right, so we're back to our add event panel. We see that we're starting on the 6th, which is that Saturday. Okay, great, for the new year, get a clean car for the new year. And we could either end at never, which was the case with Yoga with Carrie, or we could click this radio button and we could add a new date. When I click inside that box, then I get a panel that appears. And let's say that we want this to end in February on the 24th, because remember, this is warm Miami. All right. All right, now we also have the option to be able to add a unique date and time, or as many as you want. Say that there was going to be on a Friday right before one of these Saturdays or some other day of the week. If there was also going to be a big event on post where people were just going to be streaming in, and the boss soldiers wanted to get out there and host a car wash on that day too. So you can add a special day and time by clicking Add Date Time. Now watch what happens. We get another panel that allows us to do the same thing that we did before. So let's add a new date. So we'll say, I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to January. And let's say that we also want them to be out there on the 12th of January. All right, 12th of January. And maybe we want them to be there at a different time. Maybe we want them to start at 9 a.m. and have them go a little bit later. I don't know, maybe there's going to be an open house or just something like that on post, some event that would be a kind of an exception to 3 p.m. All right. Okay, so we're not quite ready because we've still got a little bit of work to do, but you can see how easy it is to key in information. It will ask you, it's a template, and you just fill in the information. It's as simple as that. No coding, just content. Let's go to the Details tab. Now, this is where you can add your full body content, and I don't really have anything that's going to make a whole lot of sense. So let me just grab this content that I had about hire a boss soldier for the pets. All right. Hire a boss soldier to clean your car. All right. All right. And you can add as much information as you need to here, do whatever makes sense. I'm just going to copy some gobbledygook. All right, so here we can do the same thing that we would do with any content block. We can add a heading, and you could add that heading for number 1, but you can see how huge that is. I do not like it, so I'm going to make it into a number 4. And you can highlight some of the words if you want. You know how to do that already. You can also do some things like adding pictures, adding the tables, all kinds of things here. All right, now let's scroll down because there's some important stuff. Always scroll down to the end of these panels because you might miss something. All right, we can add some promo text here if we want to, but I don't really want to. What's promo text in this case? It is not the teaser. Promo text would be a short message that would go over the in the upper right of your image tile. And I don't really want to add anything there. But for the cost, let's say donation, D-O-N-A-T-I-O-N, $10. All right, good. Now remember, we're not adding the cost up in our body copy, up into the main body of the text because we don't want it repeated. All right, registration information, well, nobody would register to clean a car, would they? So we don't need that. So we'll just leave that field blank. Now this is where we're going to add our category. Very important because remember the color coding that we saw before? Well, that relates to this. Now this is a boss event, so let's go ahead and click service members. But remember with categories, just like with the promo page, we can click multiples. So service members, let's say it's going to be a community event, and we could also put this event on the auto page. What we're doing is we're telling this event to appear automatically on those category pages. And events, we don't have to pin them manually, they will appear automatically. And you'll see how this works in just a moment. All right, so we're enabling this item to appear on the pages that we're selecting. Those are the category landing pages. Scrolling down, nothing else there that I need to do. Let's go all the way back up to the top again. And now let's click media. And this is where we can choose an image. You can also add a YouTube video if you want to, and you can replace the first part of the video with an image. So it gets kind of exciting when you want to start adding media. So let's go ahead and choose a file. We're going to choose an image, and that takes us to, yep, you got it, the sitemap. Or not the sitemap, but the file manager. That's right. Okay. Now let me click through because I know I've got a picture of a car wash in here. I don't have a whole lot of images in this folder, so I don't really use the search very often. There's one. Remember, it was right above the dog. There it is. Car wash. Very good. Perfect. Okay, love it. All right, let's continue on to contact information. You saw this before when we were working with the promo page. You saw that we were able to select a facility or a program page. Same thing with the category. We're going to enable this event to appear automatically on the program or facility page of our choice. And we also wanted to pull the contact information. I could go ahead and type in, it's going to be in a parking lot somewhere if I want to, but I don't really want to waste the time to do that, so you know that you can do it. Let's go ahead and click Choose Page, and that's going to take us to the sitemap. You remember this. All right, I'll make it big so you can see. And we're clicking Open the folder and choosing the program. All right, so remember our Boss Better Opportunities for Single Soldiers page. We want this event to appear automatically on the Boss page. So let me select that, and it loads, just like it did with promos. A lot of the functionality is the same. It's just a different way of adding information when we're talking about doing the events. Now, last but not least is the display tab, and it is the most important one, really, because this one is just packed with surprises. It's wonderful. So you can see that you can hide the start and end times if this was going to be an all-day event, or maybe even if the start and end times were not important. You can also just hide the end time if this was going to be a marathon and you just wanted to be able to say that people should be on site at 8 a.m. or whatever, or if it was a fireworks where it's just a given that the event was going to end after the last firework exploded, then you could use that button there. Now look down here on Display on Homepage. You'll see that some buttons are already pre-checked. You can click or unclick any of these, but what we know right now is that since events load automatically to pages, this event will appear automatically on the home page, it will appear on the category pages that we chose, and it will appear on the facility page that we chose. Now you can also choose to hide it from the public calendar. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, let's go back to the calendar that we were looking at before, right? The one with all those colors. And if you've got a very active ACS, the ACS classes can tend to overtake a calendar. And so your visitors might just see a sea of yellow. Well, you could create a single page or a promo page just for your ACS classes, or assign these events to appear only on the ACS page. And so you can choose not to have them appear on your calendar. Completely up to you. Just wanted to let you know that that's there. So I don't want that to be the case here on this, because this is a boss page, or a boss event rather. So we're ready to go. We're ready to save and close this as a draft if we wanted to, or publish the event. So let's go ahead and publish this event. And you can see that we've switched over to January. The event is added successfully. It's published and live. That's great. And that happened because we're approvers here. Approvers can publish immediately. So it's appearing live state right now, and it's looking pretty good. Let's take a look at that page. We'll visit the page. Hopefully it looks good. All right, it looks pretty good. Yep, it's got everything I want on it. Okay, very good. Perfect. All right, let me go up a little bit bigger. Okay, so what you can see is that event is appearing every Saturday, including that one day, which was the special Friday that we wanted it to appear on. So that is how we create events, and I hope that helps you. There's one other thing that I wanted to show you about events. All right, let's go back to that December calendar. Remember, I wanted to tell you about duplicating events? Let's go back to the December calendar, because I think that we have finished everything that we needed to show you about how to create events. We've talked about the different functionality, but there's one last detail that I wanted to show you. Now, you can duplicate events, because you can imagine that if you had one event that you needed to duplicate over different dates and assign different times, you can imagine that that might get pretty old if you had to create a new event for each one. Now, with the pottery class, you'll see it's just one item or one day. Say that I wanted to also make this item appear on maybe the 27th of December. I can click the item, and I can click the word duplicate. So you'll see here, I can duplicate it to a calendar, and it's going to ask me which calendar. If you are an approver for multiple garrisons, for instance, if we click this down button, you'll see that I could send this calendar to any of the garrisons that I'm an approver for. So if I wanted this item to also appear on the Shannon calendar over in Belgium, I could click Shannon, and then I could go to the Shannon calendar and then make the changes to edit the event for that particular location, the times, the dates, the location of where the event was going to be happening. But I don't need to do that. I'm just going to stick with my own calendar. So when you do this, when you duplicate to a calendar, you'll probably see your own garrison only. But if you are a region manager and you click this down button, you'll also be able to send this item to any of the garrisons that you're responsible for. All right, so now we'll click Duplicate Event. All right, it's duplicated the event, and it's in draft state automatically. So it's in the grayed out color, and you can see that it's asking us what we want to do now. So it's in pending state. Now let's reassign this pottery class copy to the 27th, or any date that you would choose. So when we click open, let's go to edit. And the edit panel will come open. First of all, it says pottery class copy. So let me get rid of that the copy text. And here I can change the date. I can change the media, the details of the event, anything. So I just want to change the date and just duplicate this event to have it appear on the 27th. And the same time is okay with me. The media is fine. Everything's good with this. So let's go ahead and publish the event. And scroll down, we're still in December, and you'll see that that item has duplicated itself and assigned itself to the date that we wanted. All right, so we're almost finished with just a few more details to tend to. Now we've created our Boss Car Wash fundraiser, and we know that it's probably appearing on our home page. So let's just go and check. To be able to get back to the home page, we backspace over anything up to the words armymwr.com in your URL. So it would be your Garrison URL, armymwr.com. We hit enter, and that takes us to the home page. Now that event was in January, so we have to scroll down a little bit to find it. All right, and there it is. So our Boss Car Wash fundraiser is appearing automatically on our home page. Now, I'm going to assume that it's also appearing on the category landing page for Boss and the other ones that we chose, and on our facility and program page for Boss too. We'll be checking that in a moment. But do you remember our promo that we created for the dog, the Boss Pet Sitting Services? Now we need to pin that item to our page because remember, promos do not have automatic mechanisms that pin them to the pages like the events do, and so we have to do that manually. So let's scroll down a little bit, make the page a little bit smaller, and I want to show you how to pin a promo to a page. It's not hard to do. All right, on a home page, or a facility and program page, or a category page, basically the process is the same. We'll go to, from the home page, we'll go to the pencil icon in the upper left. We'll click it till it turns green because we're going to be editing this page. So now it's in editing mode as long as the pencil area is green. And when we swing our cursor, let me scroll down. When we swing our cursor into this block, this featured events block, then you'll notice, just like with a regular content block, that the outline turns green. Now, you will also notice that the word featured events also appears down in the bottom. Now we'll click once, click Edit Block, and that will take us to a panel that will enable us to add promos. So we're going to go ahead and select any empty slot, or you could choose to replace any of these items. In fact, let's go ahead and replace MWR to you via email. So let me delete that by hitting the trash can symbol, and I'm going to select a new item. So I'm clicking in this empty slot, and that takes me to a panel for all of my promos. And so I can select any of my promos from this area. So there's our Boss Pet Sitting Services. Let me pick it. And that's as easy as that. That's all you have to do. Let's save this item. And you can see now that we have the Boss Car Wash fundraiser is appearing okay. And we also see that we have the Boss Pet Sitting Services. Now, do you remember when I said something about this message for this promo message, "We love pets," was going to be a problem? Now, if I were doing this for real and I were actually publishing this page like you will be doing with yours, then I would go back into this item and I would edit this "We love pets" just to get rid of that, because I feel that it's just cutting into the dog's eye uncomfortably. So be careful when you create those messages. I did that intentionally just to show you how awkward it can look. So always check your content and just make sure it feels right before you really let it go. All right, so we've pinned this item to the home page and it looks fine. Now, what about the category page and the facilities and programs page? Let's take a look at those. We'll click facilities and programs, and we'll scroll down until we find the Better Opportunities for Single Soldiers link. That's that facility and programs page that we created. All right, there's the page. Let's scroll down and see if we see the car wash fundraiser. There it is. Now we can do the same thing to be able to pin the promo for the Boss Pet Sitting Services. All right, we'll do the same thing that we did before. We'll click the pencil icon. We'll turn it green, scroll down, swing the cursor into the featured events block. You can see it's a separate block on its own. Click once, click Edit Block, and the same thing happens. You can choose any empty slot or a premier slot, which is that big one up at the top. And here we're able to select any promo that we want. Right. All right, click Save, and it should appear. Very good. There it is. Great. Now here we have to save the page. Let's go ahead and save the page, and we'll publish it. Good. All right, now what about the category landing page? Let's just do this one last thing. And that was, let's see, the service members page. All right, you can see that there's already a Premier item showing in this area that you can switch out if you ever wanted to. And I'm going to show you that in just a moment. That's going to be our last thing. But you can see that we also want to add the pet sitting services to this area too. So let's go ahead and do the same thing that we've been doing. Let's click the pencil icon, scroll down, swing the cursor into the block, click Edit Block, and that allows us to add the pet sitting services. So we'll go ahead and click any empty slot, or you could replace a slot if you wanted to. Same thing happens. Pick the doggy and save the block. There we go. All right, so we're all set. Now the last thing that we have to do is to just save the page. All right, very good. Okay, so that's all done. Now let's go back to that home page because there's one last thing that I wanted to show you. All right, we'll backspace over everything up to the .com and head back to the home page. Now, what we did not do yet is we did not approve this page, so it's not going to appear in live state, even though we made these changes. So when we come back to this page, remember, we always get those nice notices saying, hey, you didn't approve this new change. Well, I didn't do that because I wanted to show you one last thing. You can also pin a promo into your Premier block. That's the big one that appears up here on the top. You don't always have to have events here. Events will appear in this area automatically. They'll just slide into place. But say that you wanted to add a promo here and have it override the event. Well, you can do that, and here's how to do it. You could click the pencil icon, and I just wanted to point this out because sometimes people think that they can swing the cursor over and it should be able to be edited from here. But this Premier block is editable only from the area which is the featured events block, which is where we were working before. So let's go ahead and swing the cursor in. We'll click once, click Edit Block, just like we did before. And now, instead of adding an item to the lower block where the smaller tiles are, we're going to click the empty slot here to be able to add something new into the Premier item. So let's pick something new. Let's click Military Heritage Tours with Outdoor Rec because it's very pretty and I like that one. All right, let's go ahead and click Save and save the block. All right, very good. Now let's take a look. Uh-oh, it didn't change. Why didn't it change? Well, this is another one of those small nuances with the Enterprise Web that's just good to know about. If you've added a new promo to this area to have it override and take the place of your events, that's just fine. We've selected it and it should be appearing, but it's not yet. What we want to do is go up, back up to the pencil icon, and now let's save the page. When we click, you could either save the change in a draft or you could go ahead and publish the page. And when we publish the page, you'll see that our change has appeared. All right. So that is how we do it. Now you have got a good ABC 1, 2, 3 about how to be able to edit your website pages. And I hope that this training has helped you. If you have any questions, you can always get a hold of a member of our team. We'll walk you through any process. Don't forget support@mwr.zendesk.com. You can email us at any time and we'll help you in any way that we can. So thank you for using the Enterprise Web and thank you for watching this training. Good luck.